Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Duff, Jess, and Jonathan. How's it going? The team is back. We're all
I'm
here.
back. Hey, what's up? How's it
You
going?
How
didn't
was the
sink in the
cruise?
middle of the ocean.
I'm alive. That is positive. My parking lot kind of looks like an ocean right now. I can go drown in that if you'd like me to.
Yeah, it's been rainy here in Orlando.
Yeah,
It's been
it
like
has.
England, I feel like. I've never been, but like from what everyone describes, it's been
I
kind
know
of
it's been chilly. It's been rainy. I missed the
I'm into
cruise. It was
Yeah.
great on the cruise. What the fuck happened? What did I come to?
the beginning of Unmasked.
On today's show, we'll be going over our predictions. But before we get to that, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube at HHN365, and on TikTok at HHN365pod. You can join us in our Discord. The link is in the description. And a bird shop at HHN365.com. You can always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. Let's go over some news. We got some news to go over, don't we, Jonathan?
Oh, yes, we do. But before we get into the Universal Halloween Horror Nights related news, we have some news for ourselves.
Yeah, our housekeeping. Yeah, HHN
Yeah.
news.
And that first one being that we are finally going to have another TikTok live, which we're really excited about on our TikTok, HHN365 pod, on January 20th, which is a Saturday. So that's going to be
This
exciting.
Saturday, if you're
Yeah,
listening to it
yeah.
this week, that it comes
Yeah.
out.
So in a couple of days.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about HHN, some of the rumors going around. You can ask us questions. It's going to be a really fun time. We'd love for you to, stop by either in the park or on TikTok. It'd be a good time.
Yeah. Hopefully it's
Yeah.
not cold and rainy.
Hopefully. That'd
It
be
Hopefully
fun.
probably, I
Yeah,
think
it
it
will-
is
it'll look
actually
wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's
supposed to be
supposed
this
to be.
week.
All
But
Right.
if you find us, we have some leftover pins, the Blinky Cup pins, and the stickers from HHN. So if you find us, you get a
High
little treat.
54. What?
I'm sorry. What?
What?
It's not supposed to
Picklebacks.
rain.
Picklebacks.
High
For
of
Saturday, the high is
54?
54, the low is 38. Ugh. I know,
I
Florida
hate that.
problems to anyone listening from basically anywhere else, but that's fucking freezing for us.
TikTok live inside of a
Well,
building. Maybe
Yeah,
Rick
we're
or
not going
something.
outside.
Finnegan. We're getting picklebacks.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not hot. That's
That's true. We've sweat so
just,
much on TikTok.
just wait till the
Lives.
July ones. Oh boy.
They'll be like, remember when you guys were complaining about the cold?
yeah.
And I do
Remember
it
when
again, damn it.
I'll do
High
it
of
for you.
60.
Oh god. All right. What else we got, Jonathan?
Yes, our next thing is that we are going to have another Discord event, which will be essentially a Q&A where you can talk with us, ask us some questions, and we'll respond to them and talk about rumors and stuff like that on our Discord, which the link is in the description, on January 24th, which is next Wednesday. So that's going to be really fun as well. We're not sure of the time we're going to do it as of yet, but we have the date. We will let you guys know the time once we get a little bit closer to the event. But
Mhm.
yeah, that should be a fun time. If you haven't already joined our Discord, this might be a reason to do so. These are fun little things we do.
I would say anticipate Discord being more like an evening thing and the
Mhm.
TikTok live being more of a late afternoon thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
But keep an eye on
absolutely.
our socials and we'll post about exact time soon.
Absolutely. And now that we're done with that, let's get to the news segment of the podcast, the actual Universal Halloween Horror Nights news. And I feel like I'm just going to organize the news like this every time, where if we have a Murdy tweet, we're going to start with it. Jess, would you like to do the honors?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Murder tweets. I really gotta get this fucking soundbite. Murder tweet. Next week I'll have it. That's my resolution for the week. Get it done. Murder tweets.
That'd be amazing. I love that. And this one's just a simple one. Doesn't mean too much. But basically, when asked on Twitter for John Murdy, who's the creative director of HHN Hollywood, when he was asked if he would ever want to have an HHN Singapore original at Hollywood's event, since he has had an Orlando original at his event being Scarecrow the Reaping, he replied, "They do some stuff, but it depends. Some of it is specifically geared towards that audience / market." So it's sort of not really answering the question, more of a maybe, type answer.
They do some stuff.
It's a
That
Murdy
wording
answer.
is that sounds like a hard no. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
they do some stuff.
Does he even pay attention to them? Like, does he even know what that stuff is? To be fair,
He did technically last year because I think he worked with them on their weekend house because a lot of it was sort of pulled from the original ideas that Orlando and Hollywood had, and just half of it was more of
Gotcha.
their own thing.
And-
So I think
and-
that I know he did collaborate with them on that particular house.
Another
Didn't
thing
they-
he worked on that had blackface.
Yeah.
oh my god,
Didn't they do like a Universal's Monsters scare zone that is like the coolest scare zone that's ever been done? Like I've seen some of those photos with like the blacklight brides and stuff. Like that was
don't know.
Singapore, right?
I don't know.
It was a scare zone.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
I know nothing about
This is-
Singapore.
I don't either.
I wish I did.
This is like
I mean,
from like
I
5 years.
follow
ago.
it, but was it a scare?
Very
Someone's
interesting.
yelling at us in their car on I-4 right now.
Someone's
How don't you know
someone
this?
knows it.
I'm sorry. I know about the bear in Japan. I'm a big fan of him.
Bear is
Hamikuma.
fun.
Hamikuma, one of those two. I'm a big fan of the bear. I think I did like a live
We
reaction
can
to
just
saying
cut
the
this
bear.
out. We can just live this.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm filling space about this fucking bear, Mike. Have you seen the bear?
Was
The
it
big-
Japan? Maybe. Oh, Hamikuma.
Was it?
Yeah, Hamikuma is the fucking.
Now I
think
can't
it might have
find
been
it.
Japan. I think
Was it
might have been
Japan? It was like all.
I
It was
think
like
might
the.
have been.
It was like the glow.
Ooh, glow is fun.
Yeah, it was like. No, it had to have been Singapore. Was it? They had like the brides, and they all like glowed.
Mike, I like you coming at us with these Singapore facts. Like that's like
I mean, clearly I know my
left field.
facts.
No, this is right. This is
Like,
more than I ever knew, and I'm into it.
I know Japan has done other like glow in the dark looking scare zones, but I don't know Universal Monsters.
Okay, let's just
Okay,
completely
well-
cut around this.
Okay.
DVD.
All right, here we go. All right, and now we're done with that segment. We're gonna move forward into the Universal Studios news and rumors that may affect Halloween Horror Nights in the future. A lot of these are just full-on park news and rumors as well, so they kind of intertwine. And the first thing is something that you can see in the park if you're you're in it currently, and that is that projectors and more fountains have been installed for the rumored Lagoon Show replacement, which is super exciting.
And if you look at them in person, they look a lot more big, for lack of
It's a lot more big.
for
More
lack of a
big.
description.
A technical term.
They're big. They look like some big boys. So
They a lot more big.
a lot more big.
Hey,
They're impressive looking.
they can be whatever they want as long as they're hurricane proof. Then I'll be happy with it.
Yikes. I hope so. I hope they learn their lesson.
I don't know
hope
how
so,
you make
too.
something in the water hurricane proof like that. That's kind of tough, but hey.
I think that if it's getting okay, so you just add more water and you drown it, so then it won't blow away.
There you go.
Okay.
Exactly.
You remember, this is my theory. My logic is, that episode of Mythbusters where they're like, if you go underwater, the bullet won't kill you. That's where that logic just
What's
came
same with
from.
a hurricane? Fuck
It's
yeah,
the
science.
Yeah, you just go fucking underwater, and then you're fine. The lesson is, if there's a hurricane coming, just get a scuba tank. All right, moving on, please.
I love that. It was good.
Thank
If we're taking this park, news and expanding it to, our realm of HHN, do we think that this rumored Lagoon Show could be potentially ready in time for the event this year if they decide to have another Lagoon Show?
I would say with 90% certainty, yes.
Yeah, which I'd be very excited for because I loved Ghoulish. I loved it a lot, and I do think that the event needs another show. Maybe for a reason that we'll talk about a little later in the news segment, but I do think the event does need a more lighthearted, more, fun show compared to the more dark and serious, tones of what would have been usually in the Fear Factor live location after Bill and Ted.
Mm-hmm. I do think that in general, since 29, when that they've had the Lagoon show before, but that style of Lagoon show, the expanded version, it's just added a whole nother dimension to the event, and it's sorely missed when it's not there. So
And it's a people eater.
Absolutely
it
is.
I don't like standing. I will always complain when I have to stand to watch something, but I did like Ghoulish. So
for house purposes, it almost works better that people just kind of walk in and out
Yeah.
without having to worry about seating them, and it's just really great for the event for so many reasons.
I feel like it also helps that scare zone sometimes. Like sometimes people do stop in there when the show starts, but like it gives another option. I don't know.
Also, I think people are more aware that there is a way to walk around when that show is open. Because there are
There's more
people,
flow.
plenty of people who are like, I would rather just not go in the scare zone right now, but they don't really understand there's a way around it. But when that show is there, they're aware. They know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is just, especially, if you don't have Express like I didn't in 31, it's such a nice thing to do when all the houses are super long and you don't want to wait in a line. It's like, hey, here's a free thing. You could just stand. You don't have to wait that long. You don't have to wait that long in advance to see and enjoy for like 15 minutes, to spend some time instead of waiting in a super long line.
That was me in 29, like every single night for sure.
Mm-hmm. I missed Marathon of Mayhem so much.
It was so good. Anyways, let's just move on to the next one.
Let's do it. This is a big one for the Universal Studios Park in general, and affects HHN possibly in a similar way. And that, according to Theme Park Stop and Alicia Stella, the Simpsons ride in that whole area, but the ride itself is rumored to close later this year or early next year, though Alicia still has stated that the timeline really is just very speculative right now. So anything is possible. But it's rumored to close to make way for a Pokemon Land.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I included this in the HHN podcast is that it seems like the Simpsons Land and the Duff Brewery in general has just been so tied to HHN culture now, that Simpsons Stay and Scream, that getting rid of it, if that happens, which, it eventually will happen, but, if that happens so soon, it might affect things for people who like to stay and Scream.
I mean, yeah, it would definitely have an impact of some sort on the event, and especially if it's closed for a bit, because you wouldn't have that walkway. It could be routed behind somehow, but I don't know. So that'd be interesting to see what it would do to the event with, like you said, Stay and Scream, just event ops and how the flow works. Potential scare zone impacts, maybe, because you have to shove things further to Central Park. It might be a little more crowded.
Yeah.
I don't know, just saying. So there could be a lot of HHN impacts if this happens.
If they, I know last year we didn't have chainsaws in there, but usually we do, in the Simpsons area, there's chainsaws. Would Nintendo even want chainsaws to be in their Pokemon Land? Maybe that's something that'd be off limits and you can't have them in the future.
I feel like it'd be like Minions, how we can't have a scare zone there now.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So, I mean, we already didn't have them this past year, so maybe that's in preparation to just not have anything over there at all.
It's very possible. Huh.
We'll see.
We will see.
That is really interesting, though.
And one more rumor related to parks and related to HHN is that Screamscape, which is a source that we don't talk about often, but we have talked about in the past, reported a rumor that the Fear Factor Live Stadium, which holds Nightmare Fuel and shows like that, Bill and Ted, might be demolished in March or April to make way for a new experience that will be something entirely new to Universal Orlando. And if you guys have been following the Fear Factor rumors for a while, I know a bit ago it was rumored to be demolished for Harry Potter attraction, and then that didn't go anywhere. But this is rumored to be demolished for something that's not Harry Potter, just something completely different, not related to the IPs like on either side of it. So how do we feel about this?
I mean, obviously for HHN purposes, it's great to have that theater, but for the park, it is the better choice. It's vacant when it's not HHN. It's just space being wasted, and it's been rumored since, I don't know, 2015, 2016 to happen on several occasions. It just seems like it's time. What you do for HHN purposes, I don't know. That becomes a pain in the ass suddenly.
Yeah, I do not know how you fill it. Like where you put a show that's supposed to hold, a huge amount of people. This is your big show of the event. I don't know what you can possibly do to even eat up like half the amount of people that this show did. That's going to be a tricky thing. They might have to do something like, maybe another soundstage and put a show in there, and put seats there like they have with Grinchmas was in the Blue Man Group soundstage. Maybe they do something with that, but I don't know. I don't know
animal
what
actors, of course, people will
Yeah.
still talk about potentially as well. It has been used in the past for HHN.
Yeah.
It's been a while
Early on,
now,
yeah.
But it
It
was
has been
like
used.
for like the magician couple.
yes, different level.
Not like a big production show, and like I feel like to build like a big ass stage on that. I don't know. I think that the Blue Man Group is more of a viable option because it's a theater. Like it's already made for that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and they use it for Grinchmas. The gate's right there. It would affect the flow of like the house that was Blood Moon this year, I feel like, but can we not just have it entered by Rip Ride Rocket?
You could.
I mean, yeah, you could. There are ways to route it so it would work.
Yeah.
Because there's
So-
if you go like where the restrooms by the exit of the park are in the store, there's like backstage gate that you could route a line towards that soundstage. So like there are ways to make it work for sure. Operationally easier said than done, but
yeah. But that's
they
a
could
big ass
definitely
space.
make it work.
Yeah. It's a big theater. I think it would be perfect.
Also, like, I don't know where they hold the animals. Do they hold the animals for Animal Acts like right behind the theater? Is that where?
a lot of the animals are directly behind it, so things like fireworks would be an issue.
Yeah, so they can't have any like super loud show in there if they were gonna do something like that.
No, and you would hear dogs barking and like all that shit.
Mm.
It's definitely not the best option.
Give me some AC. That's all I can think about.
Grinchmas was nice. I went and saw it in December. Ooh, I was in there. I was chilling. I cried. The Grinch. It was great.
Oh,
We
maybe
probably have to
instead of
tone
like
down the pyro a little bit, but that's about it.
great, instead of nightmare fuel, let's do like frostmare fuel, make it a nice chilly
Ooh.
experience.
It's Blizzrock and Pyrock,
Boom.
actually.
Wow.
Snow miser, heat miser situation.
Love it. Without the heat, just snow.
Just snow miser.
Give me
I
some
don't know.
Snope at HHN.
I'm a heat
In a
miser
theater?
fan.
Yeah, let us. Yeah, some fake snow.
It's Yeti the musical.
Oh my god.
Universal, hire me. I will write you an HHN show. Icons.
see the
But
vision.
ooh, it's the cell block tango, but it's the icons. The icon block tango. Call me. I'm available.
Hellblock Tango.
The hell block tango. Jonathan, I think we just found our first parody video for our YouTube channel. That would be fucking funny, y'all.
Someone's been to Capone's dinner and show recently.
You caught me, Mike.
Well, all right. I think those are all the news and rumors for HHN for today.
I
Still
think there's more
January.
coming for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, for our
Absolutely.
sake, makes our lives easier. But let's get into our main segment then. We are going to talk about our HHN predictions. Not like we usually do this time of year. We're like, what is HHN 33 going to look like? Just in general, moving forward, HHN predictions. It could be next year, 5 years, next decade, next 30 years, whatever we want to do. How does the event evolve? What happens? What gets taken away? Let's rapid fire. Well, let's not rapid fire them because I don't think we have that many across the board. But let's talk about them and yell at each other if we disagree.
Ooh.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll start us
Okay.
off because I know I wrote more than I needed to. So I'm
Yeah.
probably going to fire off a few extra. And I'm going to start real simple. Something that's probably not controversial, but there has been a lot of talk about how once Epic Universe opens, it might be the end of Universal Monsters at the event. They'll take a break. I don't think that's the case. I think it's easy. I think there's so many options. There's so many different monsters, so many different stories you could tell with them. They're going to keep doing it until it just absolutely fails. So I don't think it's stopping after this year or next year or the next year or the next year. It's going to keep going for quite a while.
I I agree with that. Especially it's such an easy IP slot to put in. So if you want your event to have half and half, it helps a lot that you don't have one of the IPs you own essentially, so it's a lot easier to
Mhm.
put in. I do think there is a world where they start doing maybe every other year instead of every year back to back to back. But I do, I agree with you. I do think Universal Monsters are going to continue to be a staple at the event for sure.
Yeah, I'd say my timeline for this is kind of like next 5 to 10 years. I think we're going to consistently still see them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see them going to maybe 50's really far away, but like
That is pretty
40
far.
for sure. And then maybe going away until 50.
Mm.
That could be a cool use of them.
Do we think like if they ever, did monsters, right? And then they were like, all right, this is going to be the last year for a couple years. Do you think they would do a full on compilation again and get them all back together? Something similar to how it started?
Oh yeah,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
100%.
With like homages to the 2019 version.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
Oh, one day.
All right, who's
All
next?
right, I got one.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so this one is a bit of prediction, and I might be totally wrong, but I predict with the last couple of years when we had Pumpkin Lord and Oddfellow that we are kind of at a dawn of a new icons era, that we are going to start to seeing more a kind of almost official icons for the next couple of years, because and just kind of started a brand new kind of icons era, because the last two icons have been really successful and popular, especially with Oddfellow, and how they've kind of all tied into the event. I think we might be at a dawn of a new icons era. I know it's not going to be like utilized in the advertising or anything. I think that is gone, but I think we might be at the dawn of a new icons era. At least I hope we are.
Yeah, I actually fully agree with that. Like 100%. It seems like the current team definitely has an interest in telling new stories. And whether that's pulling from history that wasn't heavily explored or doing something brand new, it seems like that's something they're very into. And I think, especially with how well Oddfellow was received, they're not going to stop anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm super, like hopeful about if they go this direction because before, 30 and everything, I was like, I never had an icon that I can connect to before, that was new, that I've experienced their first year. And I know, Jess, you were the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So having, Pumpkin Lord, yes, but having Oddfellow is like, all right, this is the full on icon and it's new and created and you are experiencing his origin in real time. Being able to connect with that was so, I think, just important for me in terms of just my connection with HHN, that I would love for them to continue to go in this direction.
Yeah, I think they will. I think that it was proven to be successful. And also, Oddfellow was just a huge, like, move forward for representation at the event, too. Like, we've never had a black icon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that we're definitely moving in that direction, and I'm excited to kind of see where we go from there.
Me too.
I have one that kind of ties into it a little bit, I guess you could say. So my prediction, it's really more of a hope, a want, a need, is that I think Oddfellow proved that live mics at the event, they work on certain characters. And I think we're going to start seeing more of them pop up. We had it in Case Files with the singer. We've had Oddfellow now who fully had, Rain to kind of walk around. Yeah, he had some scripted things, but it was really fun, and I think we can kind of get back into that and maybe in the houses again.
I would love that, especially if we do continue the icons route and keep going with that. Like the amount of TikToks and that people made of talking to Oddfellow and even other characters that were that just talked like David S.
Mhm.
Pumpkins, like the amount of promotion Universal got from those mic'd and being able to talk characters, like I'm sure I really hope they're going to want to continue with that because I'm sure it helped them a lot in terms of social media,
Definitely.
and it was fun.
So I think, and we've talked about it since we've started this podcast, how I think that is such an important aspect, and I want to see it grow. I don't know if it's going to go beyond where it is anytime soon. I
Mhm.
hope it does. I just, it seems like something they shy away from, and I'm sure there's a really good reason. But I want it. I just don't fully expect it.
Yeah, that's fair.
That makes sense. We don't want Chucky's Insult Emporium.
No,
You don't want Chucky's Insult Emporium.
Whoa, no, we're talking Hollywoods.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
We don't want it.
No, we don't want that, obviously.
No, not that.
Not that one. I don't think about Hollywood. Sorry.
That's fair.
Well,
That-
I
that
also
is-
don't want the Chucky. What was that zone? I can't even think of the name. The one we had in 28. I thought
Chucky?
it was
Chucky the Zone.
sure. It was just horribly bland. So I don't want that either, to be honest. I don't want either version of Chucky. Sorry, Chucky.
Where you from? I'm sorry.
No, I heard you.
I'm just
Oh,
sorry.
that's your boyfriend? That's unfortunate.
You just watch the Tim Tracker video. You get the whole fucking script in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's pretty much. My prediction also sort of jumps on the icons train a little bit. Where one of my predictions was that the trend of new icons will continue, but something that followed that up was that I think that past icons, so the main ones we've had in the past, will start to be used less and less, even like in anniversary years. Like Jack, I feel like obviously will still appear like very consistently until they can't anymore. But I think the others ones, I think they might try to just, I don't know, like give them less notice the more we have new icons coming in, sort of replacing the old with the new. At least the lesser, I don't know, like the ones that sell the least, out of all of them. I feel like the new ones are gonna overtake them. So yeah.
Well, I'll just add on because I had one that said almost exactly the same thing, but potentially a little further, where I said what I called the legacy icons outside of Jack. So Chance, Director, Usher, Lady Luck, Bloody Mary, whoever it may be. Outside of like small cameos, probably specifically in anniversary years, will not be at the event for at least the next decade.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a while until they really dig down and pull them out to maybe, whether that's heading an event and being the icon of the event again, or getting a house or whatever. I think it's going to be a while, and they're really going to focus on the newness rather than pulling deep. Outside of Jack, because, I mean, he's the face of the event. He's the face of HHN, and he will be for a while.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. 100%.
Even in 30, besides the icon house, obviously, it feels like even in like the Marathon of Mayhem, they weren't like, I feel like Jack was obviously the very most prominent one, and the rest of them like got little parts, but were not as highlighted as I'm sure many of us wanted them to be during that year.
Even in the zone, they were just on those big like posters.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't featured anywhere else. So
yeah.
All right, I have one. Now, this is a very specific, and it's so specific that it probably won't happen, but it just makes sense, and I'm going to say it anyway. I predict that sometime in the near future that we are going to get a very expensive Five Nights at Freddy house, and that it is so expensive that a couple months later that we get almost like a lot of the sets and the animatronics get retrofitted into an escape room that's a Five Night at Freddy that sticks at City Walk for until the Five Nights at Freddy's sequel comes out, and just kind of, because that is such a popular franchise that I think it would just make sense that to try to get some newer properties, some and even new horror properties into that escape room thing to try to keep it alive.
At City Walk is so interesting because I was thinking the Vegas escape rooms.
Oh yeah, those
But
two.
City Walk is more interesting. I don't got to fly to City Walk.
I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of really liked that. They did do, not anything as elaborate as this, but they did have that Blumhouse like photo op thing during the HHN season, or like a little bit halfway through, that anybody could go and experience during that time. So having something Blumhouse over there, does make sense.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, obviously the properties that they have over there really makes sense, but I expect that maybe the next one they do is going to be horror themed, and I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's just makes sense if you're going to do something horror. So we'll see.
That is if they make another escape room. I don't know
Yeah.
how profitable these two have been, to be
Five
honest.
Nights at Freddy's would sell money, though. I
Yeah.
feel
It
like
would.
Oh, yeah.
People would be
print money.
forcing their family to take them.
for the last
sure.
like life of that thing, if it's really on the outs, if it's not making that much money, fucking do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love it. All right. What's our next prediction?
I mean, I can hop in because I do have a lot. So I think that based off what we've seen the past few years, that kind of innovative, whether they are old or new, effects that are used within houses will continue to grow and be utilized more. I felt like there was a very long period where it was kind of stagnant. They tried new few things, but drop older things that they tried. And I think over the past couple years, that has really amplified. They're trying new things all the time. They're pulling back old tricks. And I think we're going to see a lot more effect-driven houses, period, across the board. I think like a good example of something we really haven't seen in a while that always comes to mind for me is if you go back to like Winter's Night, there were these cool like cloaked figures that would use an air cannon, so you'd get the scare from the air cannon, but would also blow up the cloak to show their lit faces. So it's kind of like a double scare in that form. Stuff like that. Bring back the old effects that really worked that you've stopped using, while also implementing these new effects and trying new things. So a lot more screen driven, a lot more animatronic driven, just new ways to play around. They're really going to lean on that more than they have.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, does that mean we're getting a blow up slide?
Ooh.
We can only hope.
Into
Yeah.
a ball pit with
Yeah,
aliens chasing me?
Yes.
Oh
I
my
just want to
God.
look down and see Rat Lady under me. That's all
I
I'm
want
asking.
to be the rat lady in the floor. Okay, I'm done.
I'll wave. Hi.
I'll scream. No, that I like that because there's like some effects I haven't gotten to see, or like I've only seen in like anniversary houses. So I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
No birth canals, please.
No,
No, those are done.
I'm good.
So I have one. It's not really related to the effects one, but I do think that in the future of HHN, maybe not this coming year, but just in the moving forward, I think we will see more extra things regarding the lore of HHN. I think the podcast have been a huge step up from really having nothing for a while, of actually telling the lore and connecting the zones together and giving the lore of Oddfellow. I don't know what media they would use, but I do think the lore will start to become a little bit more important and start to spread out a little more than maybe just the podcast. Maybe it will go further into, maybe more detailed blogs and videos or something like that. Will I ever think that the icon is going to be the marketing tool again, like the main one, besides Jack? No, probably not. But I do think we are going to get more things than we have in the past.
I mean, yeah, I'd say that's probably right. The way they've been moving the past couple of years, like you say, with the podcast specifically, I think they're making the lore a lot more in your face, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think more people care about the lore too because we have more content creators, in the HHN sphere and like theme park creators in general. So lore is more important to people and there's more ways for people to kind of touch on it. So they're making it important, so we're all going to make it important too.
Absolutely. It connects, everyone closer to the event. And, like we said, the fact that they are moving, had Oddfell that connected to the lore and, we might be moving in that direction. I think it'd be a very smart thing to keep expanding. And I think people really like the podcast and stuff that's come out recently.
Definitely. So my next one is merchandise related. And I don't know, they're kind of vague because nobody knows what they're going to do. And also I know Andrew Stonecipher left this past season. So this next season is our first one with like a completely new like head designer for merch and stuff. So I feel like we're going to get more creative with the jackets. I think we're kind of all exhausted on the denim.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm expecting, I don't know what that's going to be. They didn't do like a bomber this year. And previously they were pretty popular, but I think we're going to get something more creative or something maybe more customizable. But I do for sure think that they're going to lean more into more creative colorways on the house shirts and the motifs for the year. So I feel like this year kind of showed that. We got really cool with like purple, green, and red. We got, the Halloween theme last year with the orange and purple. I think gone is just the boring ass red and black. And we're going to get even more creative with it in the future.
Devil's advocate. What if because they don't have a guy like that who has that creative, great style, they go backwards?
Don't say that. No.
I'm just saying.
I trust
That's
the
not
team.
an actual prediction from me. I'm just
playing
devil's advocate there. So
I'm excited to see what the team does because obviously I don't think he created everything.
No, of course not. But you could tell
the
things he did work on. He had a style. It was popular. It looked great. Yeah. So he kept it going.
Was he responsible like for the design of the studio screamers?
Yes.
I think
I'm not 100% sure on that one. I don't recall.
I'm almost positive because I think he's done most of the action figures. Because I listened to an interview. One of the other podcasts had him on. Yeah, I want to say he did.
I think you're right. And if he did, and that the Studio Screamers design was him, do we think that not necessarily the Studio Screamers themselves stop being made? Because I still think regardless, they probably will still be things that are sold. They obviously sell a lot. People really like them. But do we think the abundance of Studio Screamers merch might, dwindle a little bit? Maybe there's less items that have them on it.
I fucking hope so.
Yes, I selfishly hope so because I think it's a fucking lot.
Focus more on the Screamers themselves.
Yes.
And don't really worry about the other Screamer merch because when you get to the last week of the event and everything's half off, that's the stuff that's there. Not the Screamers themselves. They've been gone. But the jackets, the shirts, the hat, whatever the fuck they're on.
The pins.
No one wants the other stuff with Screamers. They just want the vinyl figures.
Yeah. And I know that he still has a good relationship because I think he's like one of the designers for Roosevelt's now. So Roosevelt's is obviously sold at Universal. They have a good relationship. And I know that he still talks really highly of Universal on his social media. So I don't think that's going to affect really anything besides maybe how much of the items we have to choose from, hopefully. But also, who knows if he's the one who gets to decide like what it goes on? It might just be something like, hey, we need a new line of screamers,
Yeah.
design us, 8 figures, a cup, a hat, a shirt, like, and they just give him parameters.
Oh, I
Yeah,
would
that's true.
Because
bet a
there's a
lot of
purchasing
money
team.
that
Yeah.
he made what screamers were, and they're like, "Wow, those sold well. Make more of it."
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay, sure."
Yeah, like I work in a former life. I worked in a purchasing company, like your department, and like sometimes you don't get to pick what goes on or what it goes on. You just get to pick what it is and what the design is.
Mhm.
So
Makes sense.
we'll see.
All right. I have another one.
All right.
Is everyone done at least 2?
Yeah.
All right, then I will go on to my third one. This one is kind of a more basic one. It's not fully fleshed out, but I do think, and we started to see it a little bit this year, I think we're going to start seeing more of an expansion of the free pour alcohol and less on the pre-mixed cocktails. I think there's been a lot of kind of this year, especially a lot of pushback on some of the pre-mixed alcohol. That so much that the people would have to kind of seek out the few areas where you have premix. I think we might start seeing a bit more going back to having more options when it comes to just kind of your basic premix bar instead of or a basic hand pour bar instead of these pre-mixed cocktails popping up everywhere, especially since the crowd is getting younger anyway that can't drink alcohol. I think they might start trying to figure out ways to get those who can drink spend a bit more money in the parks.
Amen.
I'm okay with that.
It's better value for those who do drink. It tastes better. I
You get what you
mean,
want.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I didn't drink. I didn't. It was hard to find a good drink. I didn't
Yeah.
really drink the last year, just because I was limited to beer or standing in a long line at Finn's.
mhm.
You know,
And the lacto cooler didn't taste good anymore.
Sorry.
but you started
I'm
to
sorry
see
you
it a
guys
little bit.
experienced
There
that.
was a few places where they had the hand pour. So.
Oh, there was what, 4 across the park, if you like, not counting
Yes.
Finnegan's.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know it was stopped for a good reason, but I do wonder, did it really cut down on like drunk incidents?
No.
I'm not sure it
I
did.
don't think it did.
The park seemed just as sloppy as ever.
I
When they
feel
were
like
doing
it felt sloppier this year.
Yeah.
pre-mix, like I don't know. I don't think it made a huge difference at the end of the day. I could be wrong. I don't see incidents and where those came from, but
It feels less sloppy to me, but I honestly think that's just more because the crowd it trended younger. I
that's
think at
possible.
least in my
Yeah.
first couple of years, it really did feel kind of like, there was just it was more of a drinking atmosphere. It was more older. It was
Mhm.
kind of that 18, 19, 20-year-old vibe where, they had to really cut down on, people passing off their drinks and things like that. I think that problem is obviously still there, but it's not as what it was before. I don't see that presence as much. Maybe I'm just not looking for it, but I just don't see it.
Mhm.
Maybe we're an express now and we don't have to be
Yeah, it
around.
changes things.
It
I will,
does.
as a consumer though, it was a great change to have it, and I hope it does continue to change because again, the quality of the drink is better and the value of the drink is better. So
Definitely.
as long as it's not coming with crazy issues with people getting hammered, then I don't see why they shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, my next one sort of lines in the food and drink type conversation. And this one's definitely more of a wish list, but I do really hope it happens. And it's that Reuben fries will return.
Oh my god.
Who would have thought that'd be on your list?
I know, right? It's gonna happen. It's gonna have HHN 33. Not even few. We're saying HHN 33. We're gonna get in there. They're gonna go in
That's
Louis.
called
It's gonna-
manifesting, Jonathan.
I am manifesting. I absolutely. We're gonna walk in. It's gonna be right on the screen. The first thing you see, pizza fries will be like on the in the corner, very tiny. But Reuben fries will be cover almost the entire thing, and just I will pay whatever amount of money. I just want Reuben fries back.
I will not
Yeah.
say anything other than I hope you are right.
I hope you're right
Oh,
too.
so good.
Were they generally as popular? Because I know they were popular with us, but do the Reuben fries have the same? Like, were they popular?
I don't think so.
I don't think they were.
Yeah,
I think it's just
probably
a
not.
niche thing for us.
I have no idea. I know a lot of people who love them. And
But
I
they
do
were
know
like HHN people.
I will say they never just sat out. You had to wait for fresh ones all the time, but that could be more based off how they were prepared versus how popular they were. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think they were ordered too often because I always had to wait a very long time. It's
Yeah.
like someone like, oh, we got a Reuben fry.
This
Give us a
fucking
little bit.
weirdo got
So
Reuben fries.
fucking weird. 3 people in a row. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Is your whole
Just
fucking
365.
group getting them? What's wrong with you?
And yes, we were.
Yeah, the whole group. Correct.
Yeah, and
You're
it
right.
seemed like a hassle to make them. I'm not gonna lie, it was never easy.
They were
experience
not
eating.
making the fucking corned beef or whatever the fuck back there. They were pulling it
No,
out of a
but-
bag.
Y'all
I
got
know,
it from
but
Finnegan's. Like
It always just took forever. It was
always
always like,
took forever.
oh, we got another Reuben. Oh, okay, all right. You
All
have to
right, I
wait around
guess.
for him. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure I don't want to say we're in the minority, but it's definitely not a pizza fry sized item in popularity, that's for sure.
even though it's so much better.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. I'm gonna go next because I can also kind of stick with this because I'm gonna talk about food and beverage, in kind of a negative way because
Oh,
all I've talked about is how we've seen the event grow and become more Mardi Gras esque and almost like a festival. I think it's kind of plateaued and it's done. It's not growing further. It might evolve. It might become a bit different. It's not going to get bigger. I think it's kind of stagnant. This is where it's going to be maybe slightly bigger, an extra booth, maybe, but it's not going to become anywhere near a festival or Mardi Gras level. Not even close. I think it's done where it's at.
unfortunately, I think you're right. I mean, honestly, I'd even say Mardi Gras itself, like last year, wasn't as big food wise as the year before it. Like even that event has started to sort of, have sort of like just the same options or not as many as it used to. So
To be fair, I would if this was a Mardi Gras show, I'd say I expect Mardi Gras to grow still and go back
Okay.
at least where it was in 2020 when it had 2 weeks in an event and it was huge.
hmm but yeah, I hope it. I really do hope it does. I am excited for Mardi Gras this year. But I think you're right. I think the way it looks like, these past couple years, I think we're gonna stick to what we have now, most likely. So I do hope, we do have more, filling options. Like we've had the sandwiches along the way. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there still could be changes. I think we could get more like important on like my end would be like getting more beers brewed by local breweries for the event specifically. And again, getting these more like entree style options at the booths.
Mhm.
But I don't think we're getting more booths or expanded offerings.
Yeah. I think they tried with some things this past year, but it just or things would change halfway through the season, like the ravioli, or they just
Yeah.
can't keep up with it.
Yeah, I would also say let's try to get a little less like goofy with it. You know what I mean? They got
Yeah.
a little crazy. They'd put a lot of food dye on a lot of stuff.
The
Let's
fucking
scale
cotton
that-
candy mustard. Let's not do that again.
Yeah,
Oh.
let's scale back. Like let's be a little bit. We can be fun, but let's be more palatable. That would be.
And I mean, I think you can have. There is room for having that crazy item that people will buy to put on TikTok or whatever, but then you have to reel it back at other places. Like you can't go crazy at every other booth at that point, which you're right. They've kind of started to do.
Yeah, they got
And
a little too much.
I think it showed when you looked, especially once you got like halfway late into the event. Like there were certain lines you could walk up to any night, no wait, and there was others every night you'd have to wait 10 minutes for, whatever,
Yeah.
guaranteed, because people were like, I want to go eat the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want the Chucky fried chicken because the popcorn
Exactly.
chicken. That line was always just
Nashville
so bad.
hot
Mhm.
popcorn chicken.
Yeah.
Very palatable for anyone for the
Yeah.
most part. Pizza,
Mhm.
very palatable for anyone. Some of the other options, not so much.
I would
Which
almost
still bring
rather.
those options, but
Yeah, I would almost rather have them, if they're gonna do stuff like that, let's not do so many crazy things. Let's do some crazier cocktails. Like, I'd rather you focus like into having more unique beverages than just the same ones we've had year after year, or some
yeah.
kind of punch with, liquor added.
And I think a lot of that also will tie into Mike's earlier one where it's hand poured, because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can only go so crazy without just being pure disgusting with the
Yeah.
pre-batch cocktail.
Those pre-batches this year were
Yeah.
whack. Some
Oh
of
my
them
God.
were really bad, like
Yeah.
the cookie butter one,
Oh,
the
God.
the black the pea cocktail that was just like
The one that gave all of us stomach
Yeah,
aches on opening
yeah.
night.
Yeah.
they were some of them were really bad, and they were just not palatable. You just couldn't drink them.
Yeah. Not everything needs bitters either. Like, I will agree with that statement that I've heard online before.
Yeah, I mean you can add some bitters here or there, but like
Every drink.
I don't know if it's the bitters that are being the problem. It's just the
No, I'm not blaming it on
it's
that.
all the syrup, all the it's just the
So many.
It's
Just
hot
random
outside.
flavor
It's heavy.
combinations,
yeah.
thick
Yeah.
drinks. Yeah. And
Cookie
again,
butter and green apple.
so much of that goes back to being it pre-batched. It just sits there. It's a thick thing. Gross. You hand pour like half of those, they would taste better with
Yeah.
fresh ingredients and hand poured.
Yeah.
Yes, you can still have signature fun cocktails. They just don't have to be pre-batched
Mhm.
like that.
And still, again, for flow, have your pre-batch cocktails, but then have them be like a rum punch and like
Right.
basically that level and nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I have another one. I'm hoping that this actually happens, but I don't know if this is more of a want than a prediction. But I think we're going to start moving into seeing sequels that when they come back, it's not something from the last 3 or 4 years. It's not Yeti for the third time in a row. Like, maybe we're actually going to go back and see a Scary Tales, which I know we just had in 2018, but it hasn't come up every single year. I'm trying to think of another sequel before that, but I can't come up with anything. But I think
I mean,
if
that's
we
still
are,
5 years ago.
yeah, I guess that makes, yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. But we haven't seen it like so often. So something like that, or something even like, I don't know. I would love to see them tackle like Castle Vampire again, or just stuff that we haven't seen since like the 25 anniversary house.
Mhm.
Let's do like a full sequel or a prequel on it, even if it's like a Nightingales, just something that's not a Yeti. I don't think we're there for Slaughter Cinema 2 yet. I think we hold off on that until it's like really special. I think that and Creature are 2 things that like don't do it until we're ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Slaughter Cinema, I know everybody wants to see it. That's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about like hard hitting old originals that like maybe use some of the special effects that Duff was mentioning, and we bring those back.
Like a Body Collectors.
Yes, I've never seen the Body Collectors. I would love to see it like Winter's Night or yeah, I can't again now everything's out of my brain. Everything I know is gone. But you know what I mean.
A Gothic sequel.
Gothic, thank you.
There you go. And
My
I
number
think
one
some of the recent moves, while they haven't done a house sequel from something older, you can see some of the moves they made. They're interested. Oddfellow,
Yeah.
obviously being one of them,
Yes.
right? Bringing back basically just a name, but using Jungle of Doom, right? Like
Yep.
these
Yep.
are
That's
old
true.
deep dives that were barely explored at all, and
Deep
clearly they were
cuts.
interested to bring them back up. So you would have to imagine that kind of shows in a house eventually.
Yeah. Do it, Universal. Let's go. I'm ready.
All right.
Does anybody have any more?
Actually,
I do.
I have a few more.
Same.
Yes.
I have 2 more.
I don't have any more.
I have a fun one actually. In regards to the sprung tents, and that we talked about this before. This is the rumored year that might be the last year for sprung tents. We talked about that the rumor building might replace them and whatnot. We've gone over this, but this is potentially the last year we might have them. So if that's true and the designers know this and whatever, I feel like they're gonna bring back like a really popular original that was in one of these sprungs, and sort of like what you were saying, Jess, do
Dollhouse.
like something
Oh my
like
god,
that,
Dollhouse. Oh,
yeah, like, and do like a sequel of it, or or something like that, and expand upon it, something that was just
best of the
bel-
tents. A mashup.
I mean, that'd be fun. It might be confusing to everyone, who doesn't, who didn't go through them.
We
It's
don't
like,
care.
you're going through Scarecrow, now you're in Dollhouse, now you're in whatever. But I think something that was, really popular in one of these tents, either the just the vibe of it, or the actual property itself. I think it gets brought back in some iteration, as a like goodbye to the sprung tents type thing.
I would love that. That'd be great. I mean, that's had like almost all my favorite houses, so
Yeah, you can like pick. There's a lot of choices from which one. Which one you could pick from. Like you said, Dollhouse or Scarecrow or probably not Slaughter Cinema, but Slaughter Cinema. Like something that people just really clung on to. But yeah,
all right. I'll go next, I guess. I do have quite a few. So I believe that premium upgrade experiences, think the repository, are almost definitely coming. And I think one reason you could look at that is look at all the expanded hotel offerings. Look at the expanded offerings throughout City Walk. Look at what they're doing in Vegas. I think they're going to start looking at ways to do those things, but make more money off them.
Yeah. Even Taste of Terror, I guess, would be like a new thing from this past year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I think you're right.
Oh yeah.
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
makes sense. I'd be up for it, if it's something special. That'd be a fun little thing to add to the event.
Yeah. I would even love an escape room. Like I've said, I wish I would have done the repository. But 1 year away from when I started going.
Yeah, that one was a VR like experience, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Like a VR escape room sort of
Yeah.
thing.
It was not well received.
No, it was not. Anyone else got some?
Oh, I have one. I guess I could do. Well, I have two, but they're both like very much things that I don't think are coming. I took this as what the fuck do I also just want? I don't think that these are all predictions. Do you have more, Duff? Because I can do two more.
I have two more.
Okay, so I'll do it. So one that I think I see this one happening more than the other one, but I mean there is a new movie coming out, and I don't think we're gonna see Beetlejuice 2 come to the event as a house. I don't think that's ever happening again. But if we were gonna put a show at the event, Graveyard Review, some kind of retelling, I think that's how you would kind of like shoehorn Beetlejuice 2 in and like put clips from the movie. It comes out in September. Just saying. I know it's not happening, but if it were to happen, that's my prediction.
I mean,
yeah, it's probably not happening.
I know it's not, but it was my list, not yours.
I was just commenting.
I know. I appreciate your opinion.
I think we share the same opinion about it.
We do, but if we're gonna add a show, I feel like
hey, it could work. It could work. I'm not arguing that.
Why the fuck not? The movie's coming out. Also, apparently, there was a statement released. I don't know, whatever, an interview with Jenna Ortega today that most of the movie is practical. They're not really using CG. Yeah,
that's good.
So I know that doesn't matter to anything I'm saying, but I'm really fucking excited. So be prepared to hear me talk about it for the next 7 more months.
That's great.
I guess I'll go next then. Also, not a great one, to be honest, but I think we're going to start finally seeing a full increase on repeat IPs in Orlando specifically, because we have seen this in Hollywood, and we've seen it a very small amount in Orlando, but more recent. So obviously 30s Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 31 Halloween, the same exact film we saw. Different house. I still think it's going to be a different house, not repeating it like Hollywood does, but I think it's going to become more frequent. There is a large range of options they could use from horror, whether that's new, old, but I think they're still going to go back to the money-making wells of the larger properties, and we're going to start seeing some of these bigger ones that maybe were more kind of at one point like wish list items for people, like Poltergeist. It did so well. People never thought it would come, and I think stuff like that is going to start to come back now. Not immediately, but we're not too far off.
Now, to expand on that, do you think if they go that direction, they'd go more in the direction of Texas Chainsaw, where it did, like, I hadn't experienced the original Texas Chainsaw in what was it, 26? But I know it was pretty different from that one, like, in tone and, and a lot of things that it did in some settings, compared to Halloween in 31, that was similar approach, like, compared to what Texas Chainsaw was. Do you think they're going to go the more Texas Chainsaw route or the more Halloween route, if that makes sense?
I think it would depend on the property and how much leeway they have to play with it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the big reason for Texas Chainsaw, obviously, is because they included Texas Chainsaw 2, which as a film has a completely different vibe to the original. So naturally it's gonna take on a different form. Whereas Halloween, even if they went to like Halloween 2 or something, the vibe's pretty much gonna be the same. It's just gonna be a different house with some add-ons. So I think it'll depend on the property for sure.
That makes sense.
I think you're right, Duff. And I would like to point out that it's not unheard of on Orlando's coast as well, because American Werewolf of London, from 23 to 25, the main thing they changed there was they just upgraded the masks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was nearly just a basic
carbon
repeat.
copy, basically.
Carbon copy.
Yeah.
So
it
has happened.
I still believe that is going to be the only time that ever happens in Orlando, where they do a full carbon copy, because it was not received well at all, them doing that. I think the fan base here is just, we're spoiled, to be honest, compared to Hollywood, and just kind of don't accept that. But I definitely think they're going to start bringing back the same properties, just doing them a little different as they have with a couple others.
That is almost exactly one that I had but took off because I felt like someone else was going to have it. I said that we were going to see like traditional slashers make a return that we haven't seen in a while, like Freddy or Jason, because we have, the Camp Crystal Lake series coming out, which I think is on Peacock.
I think it is, yeah.
So they own their rights to something Jason related. Like, I don't know. And I think this is the 40th anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street this year. So we have two big things coming out that are kind of reviving those two slashers. Not that they ever really left. So I think that whatever that may be that we see in Orlando, I think that is very possible at this point.
And I would like to say, I think between our two predictions, yours more specifically would be sooner than what I said. I think a couple of those slashers are more imminent than bringing back some of the things we've already done specifically.
It seems like a trend recently. We keep every year for a bit. We keep like rotating through slashers. We had Myers, we had Leatherface, we had Chucky. It would make sense to continue going through the list.
Yeah, or get Scream finally.
That's a good option too.
So, what? Sorry.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I'm sure that that franchise is I don't know. It's going through some rough patches right now.
They might be looking for an HHN.
Use the money and good exposure, right?
Yeah. This might be it, guys. My final one is kind of silly because it's a reoccurring theme I've had with 365 since before I was on the show. But it's something that I can see happening in Hollywood more so than Orlando. And I think that in the next, I'm hoping 10 years, if it keeps going, we will get a drag representation at the event, more specifically Dragula, the show on Shudder.
As like a show, potentially?
I could see it as like a live show because they do a tour. I mean, literally the season finale is tonight that we're recording this. Daniel's getting home. We're watching it at midnight. So Like it's still going. They're on season 5 and they've done Titans, but every year the queens go on tour. It's part of their contract. Is the show ends and all 12 queens now go on tour
Mhm.
and they perform for months. So who's to say that they couldn't make the contract into something like that? I don't think I see it as a house. Just because like you would have to have kind of like a rotating cast of queens from that season. The most recent or even Titans, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that'd be really tough in a house for sure.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a show. I think I could see that happening. But the Boulay brothers are really big fans of horror events. They are at the red carpet of Knott's every year in
Mhm.
full drag. So maybe Knott's does it. I don't know. But I could see it happening on the West Coast, and I've been talking about Dragula with you guys for fucking years. So
Yeah, it's I would
Yeah.
be down for it. It's a show that I've really enjoyed. I've only watched 3 seasons, to be fair, but
you gotta watch this one. It's so
I do
good.
really enjoy the show, and I think it's, I mean, almost like a horror makeup style show at HHN
Yep.
with them, because like again, if they're going on the road and doing stuff for maybe a couple months at a time, that's literally what like the Fuel Girls did the past couple years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I I don't know, but I'd love it. That'd be really cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
wish.
possible.
And if like if people who are listening, you don't know what like the show is. It's like Drag Race, but they're monsters. They're scary, and their eliminations, the challenges, they put them through like physical or psychological tests to prove if they want to be there. So like it's very gore, it's very monster, it's very shock value. So if you're
Mhm.
not into that, I'm sorry, you're not gonna like it. But I think it would fit in so well at an event like this.
And they literally kill them off. Not literally,
Yeah,
but like in like
no, they do.
a horror movie esque like kill to end them when
Like
they
a
get
kill scene.
eliminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very,
And then you watch it, that's the end of the episode, and then the next episode opens with that like same kind of kill sequence. So, and now this season the Boulets, since it's moved to Shudder, the Boulet brothers, they have a lot more control. They're executive producers. They're actually directing the girls in each of those kill scenes now. It's not a different director, and I think it's so beautifully produced now.
okay.
So if you haven't watched it, it's on Shudder. It's, I don't even think it costs that much. Just watch it.
All right. So I guess I have one last one. This kind of ties back to something we talked about much earlier. And this is probably the least likely and the one I'm least confident in, but I can see it. And that's that Central Park will at some point no longer be used as a scare zone.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think depending on flow from, well, the replacement for Kid Zone, replacement for Simpsons, construction during those periods as well, it could just become too much because it's already kind of become too much as is. It might not be worth it for them anymore to fully sacrifice flow.
I could see that with all the construction and change. I think that is a possibility for sure.
Mm.
Would we just have one less scare zone then? Because there's really not another place
yeah.
to put one.
I was gonna say my add-on is I think basically you probably have like more of like a half less scare zone. I think they're gonna do something like they did in 28. Was it? Yeah, 28.
yeah.
So where they had killer
Killer
clowns
Clowns,
over by the
yeah.
waterfront by Transformers.
Yeah, that's possible. They do have spots.
So kind of
I
like a
think.
half scare zone more than a full scare zone. So you'll have more like a 4.5 than 5 scare zones.
I don't think they could if we get a Lagoon show though. I don't think you can put it in that location though.
I mean, if you don't put out a bunch of props, you could definitely time it so there are not scare actors during shows.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I could see that.
But regardless, I think if that was the case and you take away Central Park, you don't have a 5th scare zone.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think we're gonna? I think it's going to be at least another year until we get a Lagoon show, though, right? I feel like it's going to be like usually with like those types of damages, like it takes a long time to get that.
I mean,
fixed.
they have been working on it for over a year at this point, and it does look pretty far along if you go and like actually take a peek at it. So I could see it being ready for HHN this year. Because, I mean, you still have another 8 months, basically, until it actually has to be operating and ready to go.
Sounds like we're going to look at it on Saturday on TikTok.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In my head, World of Color was like gone for like years, but
That's
I
Disney
probably,
timelines,
It probably
Mike.
wasn't that
I
long.
also think World of Color was like it was 2 years. I want to say that it was gone.
Yeah.
I
So
do
this
have
would be
a
about 2 years. Then
Yeah,
right?
if it opened for like HHN this year, it'd be just
Yeah.
almost 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a slight fear that, obviously it seems like all of the construction is going to go toward the rumored actual nighttime show for the park. That's what they need to focus on. That is the most important thing for Universal. And by the time that's all up and running, how long does it actually, like, how long does it take to actually program it to make an HHN thing, and to change it up to, fit that style? I know there was rumored drones potentially for this type of show. Would that take long to program and stuff like that?
Mhm.
Like what would the timeline be from normal, nighttime show is finished and ready to go and it's playing every night to now we gotta also design an HHN version of this to play, for these months, and are they working on them at the same time, if it's even happening?
Mhm.
That's my one worry.
I think that's fair, but I would say if it's something like drones, they can already test those now, like at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Those additional features can be used at any point. Um, Basically, the changes between the two, there's no physical construction changes. It's just programming. So you can work on both of them at the same time. Does that mean that that's going to be what they do and they choose to do? No, absolutely not. But feasibly, they could do both for sure.
I hope so. That's my hope.
And I think, again, flow has been an issue that they've clearly been testing different things, whether that's removing uh, like the chainsaw drill team or moving scare zones around in past years. Um, they're really trying to get flow perfected, and I think having a lagoon show and as a people eater really helps with that. So I would assume it's kind of important to them to have it. How important? Obviously, I don't know.
Makes sense.
All right. Do we have any voicemails?
We do not.
Okay. Well, go ahead and leave us a voicemail at 407 906 40134, and we will play it on the show. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube at HHN365 and at TikTok at HHN365pod. We have an amazing Discord. The link is in the description, and we have a merch shop to check out and keep an eye on at HHN365.com. And we'll see you in the streets.